hit record now. All right, so welcome to Understanding Student Employment and How to Get an On-Campus Job. Let's cover our agenda really quickly here. So what we're going to talk about in today's session is we're going to cover what is student employment, the benefits of student employment. So we'll talk about why you might be interested in working on campus or working with SU, as well as what some of the research says. We'll talk about different types of student employment so that you can have an understanding of what the opportunities are. We'll talk about those fun policies and procedures, and then we'll get into the next steps. So when and how to apply, and we'll also cover a Handshake demo. Handshake is our job board for Seattle University students and alumni. So we'll get to see how you actually go into Handshake and apply to opportunities. As we go through, feel free to chat in any questions and we'll be monitoring the chat. We'll also have time at the end of the session for additional Q&A. Okay, so starting out with just student employment context and who is student employment. My name is Sharon Leary. I'm the Student Employment Director at SU. And with me are some other student employment contacts who I will allow to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I am the lone student financial services rep here. I do financial aid counselor and I'm also the work study coordinator. So any questions about work study, you'd want to direct them my way.
Thank you, Jenna, for sharing. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Sanchez. I use he, him pronouns. I'm one of the career engagement specialists in the career engagement office. And fun fact about me is I just graduated from SU in 2020. And so I do have some experience applying to some roles. And I'm also a career coach on campus. And so whenever you need support applying to these things, you can contact myself or Melissa and Kiana Higa, who is currently not in the call right now, but she is also a career coach on campus as well.
Great, thank you, Carlo. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. My name is Angela Kabatbat. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of External Relations on the recruiting side here with the Career Engagement team. I do a lot of work with employers, bringing them to campus and connecting with you all, as well as bringing you to their places of work and connecting you with meaningful opportunities.
Awesome. So as Carlo mentioned, there is also an entire career engagement team here to support you as you apply to opportunities. This is a photo of us with actually some of our student employees in that photo, our student employees from last year who were just so incredibly valuable to our office. There's also other contacts in student financial services. So for you to be aware, student employment at SU is sort of unique in that it straddles multiple offices. So there might be multiple offices that you engage with in regards to student employment. So as I mentioned, you've got the career engagement office, and that team is available to support and help you in your job search and in finding opportunities, as well as any questions you have around career development, gaining skills and opportunities, reflecting those skills and competencies onto your resume once you have a job. So this is an office that you definitely want to put in your back pocket and reach out to with any questions there. Student Financial Services provides support for the processes and procedures and operations around student employment. This is where you'll go to bring your I-9 and W-4, which we will talk about later. But just for you to be aware of, they also help you with your financial aid work study award and checking in on your status there. So to be aware of that. And then also Payroll is another office that you want to be aware of because they process your paychecks. And so you might need to reach out to this office or fill out some forms with this office if, say, you forget to fill out a timesheet or for other reasons there. So you just want to be aware that these are the folks involved in student employment at SU. So let's get into what is student employment. So when we're talking about student employment here in this presentation, we are talking about on-campus work opportunities, as well as some off-campus opportunities with our partner organizations. And these are opportunities that are provided by, supported by Seattle University. And the intention is for those opportunities to help you offset the cost of your education, as well as to help you gain valuable skills and competencies that might be relevant to your career or transferable to your career, things that you can put on your resume and carry with you into your career path. So when we're talking about student employment, this is our definition. So let's get into why you are interested in working while you're at SU. So why are you interested in working while you're a student? And we want to engage with you here, do a little fun activity. So if you can use this QR code, or you can enter into your browser, menti.com, and then enter that code, and then enter in 1 to 3 answers for why you want to work while you're at SU. Why are you here? Why are you interested in this presentation? And we'll show a fun word cloud that helps us understand everyone who's here and what everyone's interests are. So there we go. Everyone can see that. Great. Cool. See lots of fun things happening here. We've got money, which is a big one, like supporting family and financial aid, and communication skills and life experiences, making friends. That's a good one. Just engagement generally. I like that. Tuition help. We're seeing a lot of those. Thank you so much for participating. This is super fun. All right. Yeah. I see food in there too. Yeah, we need money to pay for food. It's important. Paying for college. Someone said that cash. I like that. But I'm seeing a lot of different things here, right? So we're seeing those financial reasons, seeing gaining skills, making friends, engaging with the university. So those are all things that we have also identified, and what sort of the research shows, and why students work while they're in school, right? So to earn money, again, support the cost of education, meet people, build community, learn skills, build your resume. One thing that maybe I didn't see is exploring careers. So by working on campus, by taking on new responsibilities, new skills, maybe trying something that you hadn't thought of before, it helps you kind of think about where you might want to go, right? So you'll hear a lot at SU about reflection, and that's one of the things that we want you to do with student employment as well, is take those experiences and reflect on them and think about where you want to go from there. So to expand, I mentioned, right, studies show, or research shows that students who work on campus are actually more likely to persist in their studies. And somewhere around that 10 hours a week tends to be that sweet spot of where we see students actually really succeeding and excelling in school. It also shows that it doesn't affect your grades. So where we might think that taking on more activities, you might think that would have an adverse effect on your grades, but it actually doesn't. And so it's a really great opportunity for you to add structure to your schedule and learn how to enhance your time management skills and add to the experience that you're getting in the classroom. So it's really going to help you potentially to clarify your goals, to explore opportunities, to acquire skills, and then also build community. At SU, there are a number of different experiential learning opportunities. And so experiential learning opportunities are what I just mentioned, right? Activities that supplement your academic education. So things that you can, where you're learning things that then you apply to the classroom. And when you learn things in the classroom, you get to apply them to this activity, right? So it's really engaging with your academic work. So there's a lot of different types of experiential learning opportunities at SU, including study abroad or internships or practicums, and student employment is one of those. With those experiential learning opportunities at SU, we're promising you that you will acquire these career and leadership competencies. So these are career and leadership competencies that within these sets of skills, you will gain specific skills that are going to be relevant to your career path. So that includes creativity and innovation, critical thinking, teamwork and collaboration, communication, self-awareness, and social justice engagement. So you'll see these 6 competencies appear over and over again at SU in various activities, student employment included, as well as academic activities, leadership on campus, extracurricular activities, and through participating in these things, we know that you'll be able to walk away with these competencies. All right. So with that said, I'm going to transition into more of the nitty-gritty information around student employment and pass the mic over to Jenna to tell you more.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so now that we know why student employment is important, let's talk about the types of student employment. So I would imagine that most of you are probably interested in on-campus student employment at this point. You know, if it's your first quarter at SU, as Sharon said, it's a really great way to build community, have structure in your schoolwork. So if you're looking for on-campus student employment, we kind of have 2 types right now. The first is federal work study, which we'll get into a little bit more later. And we also have non-work study. So non-work study would be jobs that aren't federal work study, and these are really great because international students, if there are any international students, would be eligible for these types of roles. The other one is off-campus. So we do have a state work study program that I'll get into more details in a little bit, but I also think it's a good idea to remember that Seattle U is in a really great city, and there are lots of opportunities in the immediate area to work with businesses, to work with organizations, to have other types of jobs that maybe aren't on-campus SU student employment jobs. Okay, so what is federal work study? So I think it's a good idea to start with a definition. So federal work study is a need-based aid program that allows eligible students to work on campus to earn money for their educational expenses. But what does that mean? How do you know if you have it and how does it work? So the first step to identify is whether or not you were packaged with federal work study. So I would assume that all of you have kind of poked around My Seattle U by this point. If you go on My Seattle U, there is a section for financial aid. There's a section that has your My Awards, which is going to detail all the financial aid that you were offered. So something important to remember about federal work study is that it's similar to your federal loans. In order to use it, you have to accept it. So if you haven't done so already, I would go on to My Seattle U and just make sure that you've accepted your federal work study award. If you're not sure if you want to use it yet, if you're waiting until the end of this presentation, or just, maybe you don't know if you want to work on campus yet, I would encourage you to accept it anyways because there's no penalty for not using it. It's just unused funds. Unlike the other types of aid that you may have, like scholarships or loans, work study is unique because it does not pay to your student account. It's what we call a work to earn award. And what that means is that it's really just treated like a normal job. You have to be hired, you have to apply in order to access this part of your aid. Also important to remember is that it's not a guarantee of a job. So I would really pay attention later for when Carlo goes through how to apply to jobs. And you can see, some jobs really want you to have work study. Some jobs are open to everyone. Another thing to keep in mind is that the wages are paid directly to you. So yes, it's part of your financial aid package, but it is treated like a normal job. And so the wages go to you and you as a student can decide on how you would like to spend them. If you are looking how to verify that you have work study other than your My Seattle U, or you want to be able to verify for an employer, you'll see on the presentation that we have here that there's something called the work study authorization. And so if you go to forms.seattleu.edu, you can generate this authorization and it'll detail the terms of your award.
And Jenna, it looks like Flo has a question. Flo, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I understand that federal work study, we have a certain amount of money that we receive each quarter. Is that how much we will be making? And is that the maximum we will be making?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really great question. So what we do basically is we give you what's called an allotment or an award. So for most students, it's $4,800 throughout the year. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to earn that much. As I said before, it's not a guarantee of a job, and you don't even have to use it if you don't want to. But you can earn up to that amount. In some cases, we can increase your federal work study award. So as long as you're abiding by our policies, which I'll get into a little bit more later, but such as 20 hours a week, then we can increase it. But you would want to reach out to us just to confirm. Because we can't increase it in every circumstance, but in a lot of circumstances, we can.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate that Student Financial Services and Jenna are great people for you to be aware of and to reach out to, because you can always ask, right? If you need to increase your award, if you're wondering if you have an award, be sure to reach out to them. And I'll also add that sometimes if you're working in a federal work study position on campus and you run out of your funding, there might be opportunities for you to continue working, and the department would pay you from other funds. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Okay, so what if I don't have a federal work study award? So there are many non-work study positions on campus, and those are ones that international students can apply to as well. But also, if you don't have one and you're thinking, hey, I'd like one, or I want to know why I didn't have one, as Sharon said, feel free to reach out to us. We generally award you a federal work study award if you have enough need to cover the full amount, but that doesn't mean we couldn't give you like a $3,000 federal work study award. So, I mean, you can reach out and ask, but also there are lots of opportunities there, even if you're not eligible for federal work study. Okay, so what is state work study? So state work study is a Washington state aid program, and it's an opportunity for Washington state residents with financial need to work off campus. So some examples that we have, just to kind of give you some context, we have students who have worked for a local cancer research center, City of Seattle, an accounting firm, a law firm, an elementary school. Generally, we give state work study to students who are juniors and seniors and are also Washington State residents. So if you're a first or second year student and you meet the residency requirements, um, and you're interested in working off campus, we can certainly look into giving you state work study, but we don't automatically award it. An important distinction between federal work study and state work study is that students are paid by the organization, they're not paid by SU. So all of your onboarding, all of your paychecks come through that organization. Why it's a really great opportunity is because it provides students the option to work in something to get direct career experience. And it also gives a break to the organization. So it's a good incentive for them to hire state work study students too.
Oh, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Yeah, so I was just kind of confused. I think that on the chart that you showed in the beginning, it showed that there were two types of on-campus jobs. Did we just cover one of those so far and we haven't covered the other?
Yeah, so the other type of on-campus jobs are non-work study jobs.
So those
I know
jobs,
those, like, can any student get those jobs or only the ones who have also like been awarded work study?
No, so any student can apply for those jobs. Really, federal work study is so we have all of on-campus employment, and then some of those jobs are federal work study jobs, and the remainder are open to all students.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I remember like last year when I applied to SU, I was granted work study, and then this year when I applied, I wasn't granted any work study. And so, but that doesn't mean that I can't get a job on campus. That just means that I won't be rewarded money for my tuition.
Yeah, so not exactly. So, federal work study is treated like a normal job. The money comes to you. It doesn't go directly towards your student account like a normal job. You can choose to pay towards your student account. Um, but absolutely, even if you don't have federal work study, there's still lots of opportunities available. And if you want to talk more about maybe why you weren't eligible for federal work study, feel free to send us an email.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Flo, did you have a question?
Yes, so for state work study, is it, to clarify, is it only for Washington residents?
Yes, so you have to meet certain residency requirements, because it's a Washington state aid program.
Oh,
So yeah, you would need to meet. So if you're not a resident, unfortunately, you wouldn't qualify for that. However, there are lots of organizations who don't necessarily participate in the state work study program that you could work with. We've had students who didn't work through state work study and they worked at local hospitals. Or a financial firm. So yeah, there are lots of other opportunities. It just wouldn't be supported through SU.
oh, okay. And to be a Washington State resident, do you have to live in Washington State for a year?
So the requirements are a little bit stricter than that. So I believe if you're a dependent student, your parents have to live in Washington State. And if you're a dependent student, you need to have moved here for a reason other than for school.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I think I have lived here at least a year.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Christina?
Oh, yeah, you said that for the federal work study, you're awarded like a certain amount of money. Is that money that you're just like actually awarded and given? Or is that money that you're able to work towards?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's where federal work study can get a little bit tricky because it is different from other types of aid. So it's not money that you're given up front. So it's not like your scholarships or your loans that'll apply to your student account to reduce your balance. It's more an opportunity for you to work on campus, and then that money gets paid to you, but you're not guaranteed it, and you don't even have to use it if you decide that, I have too much for school, I have too many activities, I'm not going to work this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, it looks like there was a question in the chat from Ariana. So no, not so it just needs to happen within the same academic year. But there's not like a specific cutoff date that you have to have had a federal work study job by. Okay. If there are no more questions, then let's move on to working on campus basics. So students can work up to 20 hours a week while they're enrolled in school, or 40 hours per week during academic break. So that would be summer break, spring break, and winter break. The pay rate is the City of Seattle minimum wage, which is $17.27 per hour, and that does apply for all undergraduate positions. You're paid hourly. So as Sharon mentioned, you need to fill out a timesheet, and that can be through direct deposit or paycheck. We do really encourage you, if you're able though, to do direct deposit just because it's so much faster. One of the really great things about working on campus is that there are flexible hours. We do understand that you're a student first. Also, different departments have different hours. So for example, SFS, our office is open from 8 to 4:30, and that would be very different from a department like athletics, which might have a rec center that's open on the weekends or open for evenings. Also, a really great thing about working on campus and having such a flexible schedule is that we can accommodate breaks. If you want to go home for summer, if you want to go home for winter break, a lot of employers on campus expect that, and are fine if you want to just start up again in fall. And we do have some remote opportunities available. I believe Carla's going to show you how you can filter for those. And in terms of an enrollment, you have to be registered at least half time. So for an undergraduate, that's 6 credits, and need to maintain good academic standing.
Great. There was one additional question about, does work study impact your FAFSA, Jenna?
Does work study impact your FAFSA? Let me see who that was. That in the chat?
That was in the chat. Yes, sorry.
Okay, so it looks like Tanya. Tanya, so you're asking, does work study impact your FAFSA? Are you asking, do your work study earnings like impact your FAFSA for future years? Is that what you're asking? Okay, yes, okay. So that is one of the really great things about work study, is if you go back and you look at your FAFSA, you'll see that there is a section for need-based employment. And so those earnings are actually excluded when we're calculating your expected family contribution. We exclude your work study earnings.
And a question in the chat was, what's the minimum amount of hours per week for a job?
So there really is no minimum. I guess 0 would be the minimum, but you could report, 0.25 hours or something. I believe we round up to the nearest quarter of an hour. So if you're looking at reporting anything, it would be 0.25.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say, like, in terms of the opportunities available, like, there are some opportunities that might be 1 to 2 hours a week, right? Or there might be some opportunities where one week you'll work 0 hours and another week you'll work 10 hours. So there's really just no standard across all opportunities. It's going to be dependent upon the department and the office and what their needs are.
Yeah, and the type of job. So right now we're doing summer employment, and there are certain jobs that are only for summer. There's some jobs that go year round though.
And then question in the chat, Jenna, if they're not using work study, would financial aid be the same?
So this is the standard financial aid answer, and it's not very satisfactory, but it depends. Most likely, yes. But say that you're a student and you earn one year you earned $5,000 and the next year you earned $20,000, that could have an impact on your financial aid in future years. If you're concerned though and you have a specific situation you want to discuss, that would probably be something that would be a good idea to reach out about. Okay, so how do I get started? When can I start applying? So you can actually start applying now. And Carlo is going to show you how to search for and apply for jobs on Handshake. And for when you can start working. So you can start working during fall quarter, or you can start working sooner. So say that you apply for a job today, you get it, and you're starting in 2 weeks. You could definitely do that. The one thing to keep in mind is that you have to come to campus to complete your hiring paperwork. So if you're not able to come to campus, then the soonest would be at the beginning of fall quarter. All right, and so let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, the new hire paperwork. So these are the 3 forms that when you are hired for a job, we're going to ask you to complete. The direct deposit is optional, but like I said, we really encourage you to use it, especially students. Students often have multiple addresses, and it's just so much easier if it can go to your bank account. The W-4 has to do with what we take out of your paycheck for taxes. So this might be something that you want to talk to your parents about to figure out, okay, how do I fill this out? Do I need to have any money taken out of my paycheck for taxes? But the one that's most important for our discussion today is the I-9. So the I-9 basically shows that you are authorized to work in the United States. And how do we do that? How do we verify that you're authorized? Well, you bring us documentation. And the important thing to remember about this documentation is that we do not accept photocopies. So it has to be the original and it can't be expired. So it must be unexpired. So what kind of documentation can you bring? So we need documentation that shows 1, your identity, and 2, your authorization to work. For a lot of students, this is really covered by a passport. Because a passport, you have to have a certain citizenship status to get a US passport, and it also has a photo ID. But if you don't have a passport, or say that your passport expired, because a lot of us haven't been doing very much traveling, then there are other documents you can bring. So another really common example that we get is a social security card and a driver's license or some form of state ID. If you're an international student, it's a little bit different. There are a couple more hoops to jump through. We would ask for your I-20, which you would get, which is issued by the International Student Center, as well as your I-94, which you get when you enter the country, your passport, and a social security card. So for international students, it's a little bit trickier because you do have to apply for one after you're offered a job. So if you have questions about that, you can always reach out to us. Also, the International Student Center is a really great resource. If you're looking to figure out, okay, how do I apply for a social security card? Who can walk me through this process? I'd say the main thing to take away from this is please, please, please make sure that you bring your documentation to campus. Because if you don't bring it, then you have to get it mailed, and a lot of people aren't really comfortable mailing something like a social security card or a birth certificate. So when you're packing up all your stuff for school, just make sure that you include that passport or that birth certificate and that state ID. Does anyone have any questions about new hire documentation or what kind of documentation you can bring or? Okay, if there are no questions, then I'm going to turn it over to Angela and she can talk about some really cool opportunities that we have on campus.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jenna. Lots of great information. All right, so I wanted to share with you all some opportunities that are currently available for on-campus employment. I just did a quick check right before our session, and right now there are currently over 30 types of campus jobs posted in Handshake. Handshake is going to be the platform where you're applying for these, where you can find the campus jobs and apply for them, and more are added every day. And I just wanted to share just a handful of opportunities that you can apply for right now. So one area is in our University Rec Center, or UREC. There's all sorts of positions open right now, like helping make sure the facility is all good to go for folks using it, helping students check out equipment, fitness instructor positions, lifeguard positions. Our athletics department is also hiring. You could help sell tickets to events. You could work at events. The Student Events and Activities Council is hiring. That council, they plan events for the campus community. So there's all sorts of positions available, from working on teams to plan and put on events, doing some volunteer coordination. If you're into photography, they're looking for folks to work in photography and video production and many more openings there as well. Various departments across campus are hiring. There's office assistant positions available, project assistants, lots of social media jobs going on right now. Tutoring is also an option. And the next one I wanted to mention is kind of a fun fact. So did you know that Seattle U is an edible campus? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I just learned this not that long ago. So I always like to share the love. So you could even work in our campus gardens to make sure that they're ready to go, or in another position on our grounds team. And Rudy, yes, Rudy the Red Hawk, even being SU's school mascot is a campus job. So remember, this list is not all inclusive. Check out Handshake to see more opportunities that are waiting for you.
Thanks, Angela. Sarah, Carlo's going to do a great demo, so you can see how to find those opportunities. Looks like you might be looking under the Seattle U employer instead of the Seattle University on campus employer. So again, Carlo will show you that in a second. In the meantime, I want to make sure that we're doing our job here and that you actually walked away knowing more about student employment than you did when you started. So we're going to go back to that and we're going to do a quick little quiz. So first question, go ahead online. We'll get started in a second. I'll give you a minute to get ready. Looks like I see multiple people joining. I think those little emojis are people joining the Mentee here. All right, so for our first question is kind of a fun one. On-campus jobs can be remote, fun, good for your resume, flexible for your schedule, or all of the above. You've got another 4 seconds to answer. All right, looks like most people got all of the above, the right answer. The other answers were also right. It's just that really the right answer here is all of these things. All right, cool. Question number 2. Ready? True or false? You need a work study award to work on campus. You've got 15 seconds. True or false? Great. Good. So most of you got the answer there. Yes, you do not need a work study award to work on campus. There are opportunities that are federal work study as well as non-work study. So all students can work on campus. Lots of opportunities there. Good work. Okay. Next question. How many hours per week can student employees work while they are in school? Looks like we're counting up here. Most people saying 20 hours. And you would be right. 20 hours a week is the correct answer. This is a bit of a trick question because, as Jenna mentioned, if you are not in session, if it's a scheduled academic break, so that might be spring break, that might be summer break, you can work up to 40 hours a week. But while you are in school, only 20 hours. Next question. Where do students find and apply to on-campus jobs? Is it Handshake, MySU, Footwork, or Indeed.com? 6, 5. Time's up. Handshake. Good. Most of you got that one. Great work. So those on-campus jobs are going to be on Handshake. Carlo is going to do a great demo for us there in a few. All right. Almost done with the quiz here. How are student employees paid? In your student account, by paycheck, or by direct deposit? As a trick, this might be, there might be two answers here. Good. All right, yes. So you are going to be paid by paycheck, and that paycheck can either be a physical paycheck or that paycheck can be a direct deposit. So yes, you are not paid in your student account. You are paid by paycheck, and that paycheck is either paper or direct deposit. All right, so last question here before we get into that Handshake demo. Can you bring a photocopy of your passport to complete your I-9? Yes or no? No. Good. Good, good. Yeah, so you have to bring your original documents with you to do your I-9. You will want to do this on day one or sooner. So make sure that you get that done. That is federal policy that you complete your I-9 on day one or sooner of your work. And you will bring those to the Student Financial Services Office in Vi Hilbert Hall. You will be instructed when you accept a job offer, you will be instructed how to do this. So we will go over that with you once you get started. All right, so with that said, I'm going to move on to utilizing Handshake and turn things over to Carlo.
Thank you, Sharon. Also, I just want to quickly shout out every student here for really getting those answers right on the mentee quiz. It's a lot of information to be taking in. So again, we, Carlo, Sharon, Jenna, Angela, Melissa as well, are also here to answer questions beyond this session. So let it process, let it sit. When I was applying to jobs on campus as a student, I remember it being really confusing. Some questions I saw in the chat were like, when do I bring documentation? Does orientation work? Bring your documentation to campus so that it's ready, but it won't be asked for you until you receive an offer letter. So that's post the interview process, that's post submitting the application. All of that will be collected and your supervisor will let you know. So, you don't need to have everything in line right now. You will get reminders as this process unfolds for yourself. And how about we just start with searching? So on this slide, you see seattleu.joinhandshake.com. If you want to look through Handshake, be sure to use this link. This is the first activating of your account. Go set that up, but you should be directed to a page that looks really similar to this. I'm going to share my screen after I signed in using my Seattle University login. And if you haven't received any emails about Handshake, search handshake.seattleu.edu and you will find it there. But how about I go ahead and share my screen? And Sharon, this means I will stop sharing your screen. And we'll go over to what Handshake looks like as a whole when we start here. So one of the first things you might be prompted to do in activating your Handshake account, if this is one of the first times that you're logging onto Handshake, is to set up your profile. I do want to say that this is one of the more important things that we want to start with, because it's something that when you curate, when you update your profile, employers are also able to find you. So you might get some messages in your inbox with people outreaching to you that may be on or off campus opportunities, whether that be a part-time job, internships, programs, or even a full-time job when you're closer to graduating. The more updated your Handshake profile is and up to speed it is, then the easier it is for employers to find you. So some things that it might ask you is, what is your program of study? If you've declared already, you might be able to put your GPA, and this is something that you can keep to yourself or make visible to employers. You will want to have a small or short bio. And then you also have room similar to a resume to include your leadership experiences or previous work experiences. When I was starting my Handshake account as a first year, I didn't have a part-time role prior. I didn't have a professional job prior to being a first year at SU. So one of the things that I was including onto my Handshake profile are any leadership extracurricular activities that I was doing in high school. That is way more than welcomed in these things too, and especially expected at your level of education. Feel free to include any ways that you're involved, both leadership or extracurriculars, into your Handshake profile as well. So these are a couple of things that you might see in a profile, organizations and extracurriculars. You'd want to tell me what jobs you're interested in, what cities you're located in, any roles that you might have any interest in, industries that you also have interest in. And so just by clicking these, the employers that partner with our school and partner through Handshake are able to seek for candidates that really match the profiles that they're looking for. So again, be sure to activate and update your profiles when you get to Handshake. But how about I get to the question that I feel like a lot of folks are asking in the chat, and it's all about jobs. And so one of the things that I like to do, let's start off with on-campus positions. We'll see that there is a filter for on-campus jobs. Easily click that and you'll find all of these different roles on different parts of campus, ranging from a ticket office representative with athletics, as Angela brought in earlier, to even the International Student Center desk assistant. And so one of the things that I'm looking for is bookmarking if I'm interested. And if I bookmark a role, I'll easily find that in my Save tab. So if there's anything that catches your eye, be sure to bookmark it so that it's easier to navigate back to in the future. You can refer to it. But how about we dive deeper into that job description for the ISC front desk? And I do see a hand raised, but I'll get to that at the end of just looking at this job board. We're looking for a general description, what that role is about, your responsibilities, some qualifications. So you might see that this student is currently enrolled as an international student on F1 visa or past experience of immigration-related work. So these are things to keep into consideration when applying. One of the things that we were talking about today is understanding whether on-campus roles are work study, federal work study, or state work study. And sometimes it's outlined in the job description. So I would keep an eye out for those keywords when going through this. And if you can't find an answer there, you might be able to just contact that office, and this might be the best answer to navigating whether a role has work study or not is just contact that office directly via their email and ask whether that particular position can encompass work study or not. So I'll end that portion of the job board here. How about I get to your question, Abby? Do you want to unmute and ask?
Yeah, so I started signing up for the Handshake thing, and it says share a few details to get started.
Yeah.
Are we able to go back and edit that?
Yes, yes.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to push submit so I can keep up.
So you can start looking. Yeah. Know that your Handshake profile, similar to any Instagram or social media presence, you can always update it, whether that be your program of study, whether that be your GPA, whether that be updating any upcoming or present time leadership or jobs that you're holding, you can always go back to it and update it there. So
And
nothing is set in stone.
Carlo, there was a question in the chat as well about can you import your resume or connect it to LinkedIn, or do you have to enter everything manually?
Melissa, do you have an answer around that? Can we import resumes? For right now, I know that you cannot import resumes. That's something that I see a lot of online job boards do. But what is really easy is you just copy and paste from your resume onto your Handshake profile. So if it doesn't allow for that easy resume translation over to your Handshake profile, then just copy and paste. And it's simple as that. But how about are there any questions that I might be missing as we're going through in the chat?
I just have one additional comment because I saw in the chat some folks saying that you can only see 7 jobs, or you might not be able to see as many jobs. And related to the work study, some offices will post jobs that are federal work study only, so that they are only viewable to students who have federal work study awards. So that's something to be aware of as well, that non-work study jobs are viewable by all students because all students can apply to those jobs. But some federal work study jobs that are funded only by federal work study are only viewable to federal work study students. So just something to be aware of.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that. For context, for folks looking at my screen, I am not a work study student, and so I'm looking at jobs that are viewable by everyone on campus. So I would keep an eye out for those considerations when looking through an application or a posting on Handshake. Another thing that I want you to consider, and I saw some questions in the chat around this, is what is the standard timeline for an application process on campus? And as was said earlier, these things really vary from department to department. So for example, this communications assistant is within the strategic initiatives of campus, but we were just looking at another position for the International Student Center desk assistant, which is housed in the International Student Center. And so their processes might differ from each person, each department to office, but some things that you can completely consider as standard is the paperwork that was stated earlier. You might be asked for a cover letter and resume for each of these positions. And so once I click apply, it's easy as attaching my resume and attaching my cover letter here and clicking submit. So those are things that I would consider. Another part of Handshake is that jobs, as Angela said earlier, are being updated daily. Sometimes you'll see roles at the beginning of the year that don't show up in, let's say, mid-fall quarter, early winter quarter, and you might find new roles really come out during winter break where they're hiring for winter quarter and for spring quarter. For myself, I worked in housing and residence life, and a part of this was I wasn't able to see those roles until the end of my first year. And so if you come to campus and you are living in the dorms and you're like, I really want to work at the front desk, you might see postings all the way until April of next year. And so just know that, again, these processes really differ. The supports and the needs differ department to department as the year goes by. And yes, that is the little tidbits on looking for on-campus jobs. But as we said earlier, Handshake also houses all of these off-campus opportunities, like going through the city of Seattle. This is, again, really curated to my sociology Bachelor's of Arts profile on Handshake. And so you might see a lot of research roles, HR roles that live on here But again, if you're looking to apply both on campus and off campus and understanding whether it accepts or doesn't accept OPT or CPT, those are all things that in the filter you can check for and really just find results that meet your own needs. And you can apply externally to these things that, again, would ask for a resume and cover letter. Events tabs that also live on campus. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to start speeding through this. Events tab is where we keep our career engagement office events as well as our employer events. So if you're looking at what the career engagement office is doing now in terms of workshops and in terms of professional development events, we're currently hosting our summer grad series events that are happening. Career fairs are also posted on here. So you might hear what is Connect SU versus what is the Handshake events tab. Connect SU is more centered on student activities and student events, whereas Handshake is really the host of your professional development events and workshops and presentations. Is there anything else that I missed? I would say if you're looking for on-campus roles, one of the first things that I want you to be doing on your profile is going to on-campus employment profile and bookmarking it or following them so you're able to get results or able to get job postings as they come in, and you'll get notifications via your email and even your inbox on Handshake.
Yeah.
Sharon, you want to take
Thank
the
Thank you
mic?
Yeah, thank you so much, Carlo. That was so much great information. Just remember, that you can talk to the career engagement office if you have questions or if you need help navigating Handshake. Carlo had a lot of great tips in there, and I'm sure that all of our career engagement specialists and folks in the career engagement office have many more. Make sure you come see us. I am going to take the screen share again.
Yes. And it's going to go back to my slide.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So as Carlo mentioned, tons of resources with the career engagement office. Also, there are more sessions in this orientation that will be helpful for you around student employment. So I really encourage you to attend some of these other sessions. Melissa is hosting a Tools for Landing a Job While in College session. So again, if you have more questions around how to find jobs, how to use Handshake, how to build your resume, and think about your skills and your experience as it relates to student employment opportunities, definitely go see Melissa there. Also, Jenna and I are hosting a Benefits of Student Employment on-campus employment panel on Wednesday, August 10th. So this is going to be a panel of on-campus employers, so supervisors, folks who hire student employees as well as student employees, so that you can learn more about those opportunities, learn how to navigate this process from student employees themselves, learn what our on-campus employers are looking for and how to best position yourself, how to reach out to them, and all of that good stuff. There is also a alumni event on Thursday, August 11. And so Gold are our earlier career alumni. And so they might be able to share some great perspectives with you on opportunities that they did or did not take advantage of in college, things that they wish they would have done differently, things that they did really well. And so student employment can certainly be a part of that, and you could ask questions there. And then lastly, the Center for Community Engagement is hosting a student employee panel on Tuesday, August 10th. And so the Center for Community Engagement has lots of really awesome opportunities to do service related work and work in our community. And so you can attend that session and learn more about the Center for Community Engagement then. with that said, we're at 3:01, so we're 1 minute over. I do have time, and if my colleagues as well have time, we can take some last questions. So feel free to raise your hand or chat in if anything else is burning for you. You can also always reach out to us outside of this. So feel free to sign up for an appointment with anyone in the career engagement office or student financial services. You can also email us and we'll be happy to address any additional questions that you have that way as well. So I will pause and see if anyone has any questions before we let you go for the day. Okay. I'm seeing a direct message that I will address separately. Any other questions? I did have a question that someone had messaged me that I'll reference now. Is the question was, do I have to have previous experience, and what's the likelihood of me getting a job if I don't have experience? And I responded with very likely. Many of these jobs are sort of entry-level positions, and they're opportunities for you to learn and for you to gain skills, and our on-campus employers know that. So they're not all expecting you to have tons of previous experience. And again, I will say it till I'm blue in the face, career engagement office, great people to talk to think about what experience you do have and how to put that on resume and how to communicate that. Because even if you think you don't have any experience, I guarantee you that you do. You have transferable skills that you can bring to employment opportunities. ROTC jobs posted on Handshake website, and I don't have the answer to that.
To my knowledge, ROTC is not an employer on campus. ROTC is more a student program. I will link in the chat right now the website for the ROTC program so that you can, if you are interested in joining, you can reach out to those folks and get involved.
Yeah, thanks, Carlo. Appreciate that. You get invited to the Handshake website, right? So yes, and if you haven't received the invitation, you would already have access if you have SU credentials. So once you have your SU credentials, you can log into Handshake. Melissa just posted the link in the chat there for you. And I know there were a lot of questions around work study. And if you continue to have those questions, I definitely encourage you to reach out to Student Financial Services, find out if you have it, find out how you can use it, how it affects your Fafsa, all of that information. So if there's any remaining questions about that, I definitely encourage you to reach out to Student Financial Services. So a question about, I'm a first-year student, but considered a junior level student. Will I have an opportunity to apply to an internship or off-campus employment? Absolutely. Off-campus employment and internships are not student employment opportunities. So that is to say, not sort of sponsored by, not provided by SU, are available for all students to apply to. And we certainly encourage that. Also, as a junior level student, if you are a Washington State resident, you would potentially be eligible for the state work study program if you have that need in your financial aid package. So that's something to consider as well. So someone asking if this is recorded. This session is recorded. I will provide it to our orientation folks, and I assume they have a way of making that available to you. If you don't get it through there, please feel free to email me and I can send it to you. Is tutoring considered an on-campus job? Yes, it is. And the tutoring folks are awesome. They're so great, and it's such a cool program. Our tutors are trained so well, and they get so many professional development opportunities, and it's super cool. So yes, tutoring is considered an on-campus job. Do we apply in the fall, or can we apply sooner? You can apply as soon as now. So yes, you can start applying now. You can also wait and you can apply later. As we said earlier, there are opportunities posted all year round. Fall is definitely a heavy hiring period. So if you are interested in a job for the coming year, you can go ahead and get started now. Yes. Any other questions? Are there jobs on campus related to the campus chapel? And yes, there are. So there are jobs in campus ministry. One of our student employees of the year was actually a student employee in campus ministry. And there are also other religious or religious studies affiliated departments on campus who also hire student employees. So there are those opportunities as well. All right. So with that, again, feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. And for now, we will say, see you later. Have a good rest of your day. John, I'm gonna go ahead, because I have that direct message from you. I'm gonna go ahead and have a Jenna reach out to you about that.
Thank you for your time today. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end our meeting. See you all later.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.